So now we talked about global warming, but what are the causes of global warming? For 2.7 million years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated, cycling from ice age to warmer periods. But in the last century, the planet's temperature has risen unusually fast, about 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And scientists believe it is a human activity that is driving the temperature up. Ever since the Industrial Revolution began, factories, power plants, and cars have burned fossil fuels such as oil and coal, and releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases in the atmosphere. Scientists believe that the greenhouse effect is being intensified by the extra greenhouse gases that the humans have released. So here we have two things: greenhouse effect and greenhouse gases. What does it mean, greenhouse effect, and what are the greenhouse gases? Before talking about the greenhouse gas and the greenhouse effect, we need to know what are the causes of global warming. There are many causes. The most important causes are the deforestation. So when we cut a tree, because as you know, a tree can absorb or can take the carbon dioxide and it can release the CO2. Industrialization, burning fossil fuel, decay of dead organisms, respiration and breathing of living organisms, pollution of automobile, all of this process, all of this causes release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Also, the thermal power plant to generate electricity, cultivation of land, eruption of volcanoes, and also the domestic cooking. To know what is global or what is greenhouse effect. So you should know that the greenhouse effect, it is a natural process and it is important for the Earth. Why? Because the greenhouse effect is a natural process, as I said, in which atmospheric gases trap the sun's heat and warm the Earth's surface and lower atmosphere. And this makes the Earth hospitable for life. So this is a layer, okay, around the Earth. Here there is greenhouse, and here the process of a greenhouse effect is in this part. So what it happens, as I said, so this the concentration of greenhouse gases, it can absorb the heat and it can send it to the Earth, and here it can make the Earth hospital for life. What it happens? No. So now human activity is increasing. Human activities, here we talk about mainly about burning fossil fuel for energy generation and for transportation. So here what it happens, the increasing of the emission of greenhouse or mainly CO2 emissions into the atmosphere, it can enhance the greenhouse effect and by trapping extra heat in the Earth's atmosphere and slowly warming planet. What are the greenhouse gases? The greenhouse gases that make up this layer are carbon dioxide with 82%, methane 9%, nitrous oxide 6%, and chlorofluorocarbons 3%. The benefit also, in addition to these advantages of these gases, okay, it can enhance the greenhouse effect, but also this kind of gas or the greenhouse gases can last a long time into the atmosphere. So for example, the methane, it can stay 10 years, nitrous oxide 100 years, and carbon dioxide more than 1,000 years. And so what is the consequence? So with warming effects on the climate process over a long time and can therefore affect not only the present, but also the future generations. What are the sources of greenhouse gases? So carbon dioxide, the sources are from burning coal and oil and the removal of vegetation. Chlorofluorocarbon from air conditioners, refrigerators, and aerosol. Methane mainly from waste. We don't talk about waste, it can be animal waste, swamps, and landfills, and also from rice growing. The ozone from air pollution, and the nitrous oxide from fertilizers and burning of coal and oil. The climate change, of course, can affect the life on the Earth, and there is a big link between climate change and other environmental issues. I put here a link for a video to know more about the effect of climate change on the Earth or on the environment. Before talking about the effect, we need to mention one important issue. This issue is the growing of population. So here in the graph here, you can see how the population has been grown, and also the world population is projected to increase more and to reach more than 11.2 billion in 2100. So here, climate change, of course, it will affect everything on the Earth. It will affect our food and fiber production. It will affect the water, the clean and the sufficient water. It will affect the biodiversity. It will affect the human health, and also it can affect the natural cycles, as we talked about it in chapter 2. It can affect the carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, water cycles. And here the climate change will affect the ability of the ecosystem or of ecological system to provide essential ecological goods and services. So here, if we talk about food, so food production needs to double to meet the needs of an additional 3 billion people in the next 30 years. However, the climate change is projected to decrease agricultural productivity in the tropics and subtropics. Wood fuel. Wood fuel is the only source of a fuel for 1/3 of the world's population. Wood demand will double also in the next 15 years. Climate change could alter the frequency and intensity of forest disturbances, such as insect outbreaks, invasive species, wildfires, and storms. And these disturbances can reduce forest productivity and change the distribution of tree species. As I said, climate change also will affect the water. So climate change is projected to decrease water availability in many arid and semi-arid regions. Actually, 1/3 of the world's population is subject to water scarcity. And the population facing water scarcity will more than double over the next 13 years. Also, climate change affects the biodiversity. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity describes the variety of plant and animal life that may exist in a particular area. It is the total of all living organisms in an area such as park, lake, or province. And here estimated between 10 to 15% of the world's species could become extinct over the next 13 years. So the climate change will exacerbate the loss of biodiversity. So now what we can do to mitigate or to decrease global warming. So as you know, global warming may be a big problem, but there are many little things that we can do to make a difference. How? The first step is we need to decrease the amount of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, or that we put into the atmosphere. How? So we can start by recycling. We need to recycle glass bottles, jars, newspapers, magazines, and tin cans. Then we need also to decrease our electricity consumption by, for example, switching light off when we are not in the room, or by, for example, not leaving the TV or video on standby. We need to decreasing the amount of CO2 generated by transportation by driving less and driving smarter. Driving smarter, it means or we can walk, or we can cycle, or we can use public transportation. We need also to use less energy by use energy saving light bulbs. We need also to decrease the amount of CO2 emitted by generating energy by replacing the fossil fuel by clean and renewable source of energy, such as wind and solar energy. And also we need to plant more trees. So as you know, there are many benefits of trees. So we can save energy. Why? Because trees can reduce heating and cooling costs. Also, trees can turn CO2 into the oxygen that we need to live, and also Tree can remove pollutants from the air we breathe. And then, thank you so much.